Hello friends, welcome back to our channel. In today's lecture, I will discuss about the long-run production function. So far in the theory of production function, I have discussed about the basics of production function, then the law of production function, short-run production function. So what is long-run production function? Basically, long-run production function gives us the relationship between the factors of production and the scale of production. So, when we say that in the long run, all of the factors of production are variable because the supply is not limited in the long run. So therefore, what happens that we can change the whole scale of production in the long run. In the long run, we can change all the factors of production. That is why we say that the scale of production can be changed. Okay. So in the long run, we will discuss what happens to the output when there is a change in the scale of the production. So the long run production function can be expressed as the function of the output. Output is the function of K and L, where K stands for the capital and L stands for the labor. Because we can change all the factors of production, and for the sake of convenience, I have already told you that we will take only two factors. So both these two factors, capital and labor, can be changed in the long run. Okay, because both of these is the supply of both of these are elastic. Okay, so what will happen to the total output or the production, that the total output, if we change both of these factors of production in certain proportion? So this long run production function is also called as the production function with two variables, because when we study this production function, we discuss two variables. Okay. Now, the law that discusses the change in the output due to the change in the factors of production or both the factors of production is known as the return to scale. Now, what is return to scale? It basically refers to increase in the output due to the resultant change in the scale of production or the factors of production in same proportion. Now we will discuss the law of return to scale with the help of the production schedule and the graph. So here we have on the left hand side in this panel the production schedule, in which we first have the scale of inputs in certain proportion, then its effect on the total product, and then the resultant marginal products is mentioned in the fourth column. So we will have a look at this second column basically, in which we can see that the proportion of labor and capital is 2:1, 2 plus 1. Means 2 units of labor has been used with 1 unit of capital, and it has been able to produce 20 units of any product, any particular product. So 2 plus 1, this combination, so there is a ratio of 2:1, we can see, has given us the total product of 20. Then we have increased we have changed and the scale of production, in which we have basically increased the factors, both the factors, labor and capital, and the change or the increase is in the same proportion. Means from 2 units of labor we have increased it to 4 units of labor, and from 1 unit of capital now it is 2 units of capital. So both has been doubled, labor as well as capital. It has been doubled, or you can see it has 2 extra units of the labor and 1 extra unit of the capital has been added. So the ratio between these two is still 2:1. So the ratio in which the addition is going on will remain same throughout, and now with the increase we are able to produce 50 units of total product, 50 units of total product. So if we want to see what is the effect of the increase in the scale of production on the total product, we can refer to this column of marginal product, which is actually there is an increment of 30 units. From 20 to 50 means the increment of 30 units. So it does not take a lot of maths, it's not a rocket science to understand from here that a proportionate or just an increase of 20, we can say 50% in the inputs, there is more than 50% increase in the output, because from 20, if it was to be doubled, it would have been 40, but the total product has gone from 20 to 50, so the increase is more than double. So now coming to the third level, here again we have added 2 additional units of labor and similarly 1 additional unit of capital. So you can see again the increase in the labor and capital is in the same proportion as it was in the previous case. So increase in the units of labor will always be plus 2, plus 2, plus 2, and increase in case of the capital is always plus 1 from the previous one, plus 1 constantly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and here it is in the multiples of 2, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 and 20. So once again I'll reiterate that the increase in the units of labor and the capital, or increase in the factors of production, is constant and is in the same proportion. However, the increase in the total product is varying in its proportion. Initially it improved from 20 to 30, then from 30 we can say the increase was 40. Okay, so just if we analyze this marginal product, okay, we can see that the initial increase was too high, okay, 30 units, and then this was 30 units, and then from 30 to 40 it is 10, and then again it is 10, and then it has become constant. So there is no increment, constant, zero increment basically, and then 0, and then it is actually the increment is getting lower. I'm not saying the total product has gone down, the increment has gone down. So let us break this into certain categories. So this, at this level, what we called as in IRS, increasing return to scale. What does this mean? The increasing return to scale, this is the stage that shows that increase in the inputs definitely give rise to increase in the total output, and the proportion of increase is also increasing to certain level. So till this point we have increasing returns of scale. Why? Because the increase in the input, increase in, if there is increase in the input, the output is also increasing at a increasing rate. Now we have CRS, which means constant return to scale. Here it signifies that the increase in the input is actually not giving any increment, it is not giving any increment in the output. Output is increasing, but the increase is just at very constant rate. Okay, so we can see here the marginal product remained at 50, 50, 50, 50. So whatever increase is there from 190 to 240, then 240 to 290, then 290 to 290. From here we can see one from 140 to 190, 242 to 90. So the increase is only of 50 units, and that remained up to this point. However, we are increasing the input. So we can say what is the advantage, what is the benefit out of increasing our input when we are not able to increase the output in an increasing order. And this we can see here on the graph. It is showing a straight line because the increment in the output, there is no increment, the output is simply going in a constant manner. That is why it is a straight line. Input is increasing, however, but output is not in. There is an increase in the output, but the increase is not at an incremental rate. So the increase is constant. Then we enter the third stage, which is called DRS, which means diminishing return to scale. Now, diminishing return in itself, as you have already heard this term so many times, and in the previous video of short-run production function, there also we have discussed about some diminishing concepts. So the same thing is happening here as well, that we can see that of course the input has been increasing constantly at the same rate, but if we compare the increase in the input with the output, we will see that there is an constant rate increment of input is there, that is 2:1, but the output is not increasing at that manner. In fact, the output has gone from 290 to 320. So a marginal product comes out to be 30. Then from 320 to 240, the marginal output product comes out to be 20, and from 340 units to 350, which gives the marginal product at 10. So if we compare the marginal product, it is going down. So that since the marginal product, it is easy to understand from here that it is diminishing. So do not confuse the total product and the marginal product. Total product does show that there is an increase, but the rate of increase is actually what we can see from the marginal product column, and the rate of increase is actually diminishing. So do not, I again say that do not get confused between total product and marginal product, and do not ever write that the total products start to decrease. No, the total product will keep on increasing. You can see from 20 it has gone up to 350. Total product keeps on increasing, but if you compare the rate of increase, then you will see, then you will find out the marginal product, and from there you can see the rate of increase is initially increasing, then it becomes constant, and then it starts to decline. So this is the portion which we called as increasing return, and then this is the portion which we call the constant return to scale, and this is the portion where we say, which we call as the diminishing return to scale, because the output productivity in the output is initially increasing, then it becomes constant, and then it starts to fall down, diminish. And this again we can explain with the help of this diagram or this slide. These slides show the stages of returns to scale. So again, there is the first stage, this stage which is called increasing return to scale. This is the stage which refers to the situation where all the factors are increased in a given proportion and output increases in a greater proportion than the input. Then the second stage is called as the constant return to scale. It refers to the situation where even when all the factors are being increased in a given proportion, the output increases in exactly the same proportion. Okay. And then this is the third stage, which we called as diminishing return to scale, and as the name suggests, it refers to that situation where all the factors of production are increasing in a given proportion, but the output increases in smaller and smaller proportion. So it is getting diminished. The rate at which it is increasing, that rate is actually diminishing, and this is all about the long run production, in which we can see that even if we keep on increasing or adding the input and output, both the factors of input, it can only add to the productivity up to a certain stage, and then it starts to fall. Why this happens? It happens because the factors such as you can say labor, which we keep on adding more and more, because we saw that the units of labor were more. Here 2 units and 4 units and then 1 unit of capital. So when we are adding more and more units of labor to, of course, more units of capital, to a certain extent this labor is able to use this capital very effectively and efficiently, but after a certain point we can see that the units of labor and the units of capital, there is not a good match between that, and the units of labor is not able to utilize the given number or the given unit of the capital. Okay, so I can give you one example, that if you add more and more number of labor on the same machine, so it does not matter how many labors you put on to work on one single machine. The machine has its own maximum capacity, and it cannot use that much of labor, no matter how many labors you add to it. So it becomes inefficient, and there which we call as diseconomy of scale starts to happen. Okay, so here also the same thing is happening, that however you are increasing the capital, but that capital and you keep on increasing the labor, this unit or the number of labor maybe is too much or too many for to work basically on this much unit of capital. And however you may see that there are so many labors, but they might be sitting idle, or they are underutilized, or they cannot be utilized. So there might be many reasons for that, but one of this is the factors are indivisible. We cannot break the factor, and it is not enough actually, or it is getting too crowded. Or the capital represents many things basically, not just machine. It can be an office building, it can be a place or a land or other things. So it simply shows that you have increased the units of labor, and you have also increased the units of capital, but after a certain point, even both of the scale of the, even after increasing both of this, when you have totally increased the scale of production, even then it is not giving enough productivity, because it is not conducive, maybe because of some external environment as well, and it is not being able to utilize, or it may have reached its maximum potential. And other external factors, as I have said, also sometimes limits the capacity of the production. So there are n number of reasons, but it happens, it ultimately shows that the law of returns tells us that after a certain stage, no matter how much increase there is in the production scale of production, it will not give exceeding productivity. So this is the law of returns to scale. I hope this is clear. Thank you.